Good.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, we got Jim with us. All right. A lot of good questions. Well, I'll start. I have to leave a little early. At church, we have been studying the book Weird Church. It's by two pastors, well, maybe someone who's a consultant to pastor churches, and looks at, basically sets the stage for the institutional churches dying and pretty much gone and soon to be gone for sure. And so what can be reborn, and I think a lot of imagination is required for that. And it's in the book, they overlay it. I don't know if you're familiar with the spiral dynamics of that show in a civilization people have they get locked in a phase of institutionalizing things, and then there are some people that break out from that, and then like that. It was really, we studied it together, about 15 of us, and on Zoom, and it was kind of a wrenching, because you found yourself, even what you're wanting to say should happen, kind of being locked in the past rather than in the possibility of the future. And some of the ideas are to maybe not even maybe just have a worship service once a month, and then the other times have activities we do together. I mean, it's really takes your hair out a bit. And we're just sort of saying any of these things could happen. So our imagination is really being piqued, I think, by the pinch we're in as a church.
Imagination has been caught by the the picture, the photograph of the universe that NASA put out. And the stories that come out that say that fragility of our lives and of the earth. And the insistence and the awareness that we as a human race will die. So then the whole question of being prosperous in terms of money is called out of being. Mm-hmm. And the whole question of what does it mean to be responsible? Mm-hmm. Not that, what does it mean to be responsible to other humans? How do you understand hunger today? How do you understand poverty? What can we do? There's more potential for that kind of a question right now, more than at any other time. I am complete.
The one thing I heard about the conference out here west, in the West, Marshall, was we have new bishops, new bishop for our jurisdiction in the greater Puget Sound, including Alaska, Northwest jurisdiction. We have a bishop who's a black man and partnered with a man, another black man, but he's so that's a big, I think that shakes people's imaginations in a way. for the good.
Well, I was hoping to hear from Weagle. Weagle, are you going to talk?
Sure. My one of my sons was down here visiting, and we got into a conversation about the U.S. government and why even bother to vote, but you should vote and blah, blah, blah. And I was going on and on and on about all of the complexities and fragilities involved in collective decision making at any level, and finances and cognitive flaws in human beings and all this stuff. And my son finally said, "No, wait a minute." He said, "Is our U.S. government, is it more or less the best system there is that, and we should just keep working with it, or do we need to create a whole nother system?" And it hit me that I was stuck in inventory of what's wrong and what's not working. And I wasn't really working on imagination. The question got raised for me about stability and where am I willing to put my roots and stand? Am I going to go live somewhere else, or am I going to stand in this place? And it dawned on me in the conversation with Dondiram that I wasn't standing with anyone. I was just babbling on about the political complexity of life, which anyway. So that's what I found myself going, until you're gonna. Yeah, and the guy at the food bank this morning said, "How long have you been married?" Well, I said 40 some years. He says, and he's real serious look on his face. He says, "Have you ever thought of like just ending it?" And then I went, "Ooh, this conversation is going someplace other than chatting while we're opening up banana boxes." I'm complete.
So can I just share what my thinking was in reading the chapter? First of all, I had to do a little translating. When he talks about imagination, to understand what he's getting at using our language, our lingo, what I got was he's getting at the implied and hidden vision in a community, what they could imagine. That a community, I mean, we learned this in doing human development projects, that you have to start with a vision that they don't know that they have because they feel so oppressed. But if somebody can help people articulate a practical vision that means something in that community, then they can look at what's getting in the way of doing that. And that's how I related to the whole business of eliciting imagination. And it's not about my imagination. It's about me being able to help people discover an imaginative element in their situation. I'm complete.
Could I sing a little bit of an old song?
You can sing a lot of songs, Weagle.
The land lies dark and shrouded in the mystery of brokenness and pain of humankind. The consciousness flows forth from every human. A river of hope begins to wind. And in the midst of innocent human suffering, a mountain of care begins to swell. The sea lies tranquil, for all have been loved dearly, more dearly than the spoken word can tell. I got off pitch there at the end.
That's okay. Amen.
I think what you're saying is on target. At the same time, I think in this chapter he talks about belief and faith, and how when you're and how the vision or the imagination he's talking about is the courage to go into, in old theological language, the presence of God, or in what Mary said, into the vastness of the universe, and let out of that come, let's do micro enterprises, let's do let's worship once a month and do projects the rest of the time. I don't know how to really articulate that, but I think he's going deep in this notion of imagination. I think I'm complete.
I'm wondering if our stories of who we are and what we do is, I'm raising the question of, are they too little to hold the abundance that there is?
Yep.
Can our hearts hold those pictures of the universe and the fragility of our lives without simply breaking or denying? The possibility in the big world, it keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. And in relation to that, all the things we hold dear, they look like ashes.
Mhm.
You know, my country looks like a genocidal venture,
Right.
and
Yep.
the human species. What did the UN guy say today? It's like we've got a fatal disease and we're feasting on it at the opening of the.
Mm.
And that's all imagination. That's not.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think on so many levels and in so many areas, our imagination is being challenged, and our best shot at in the past at answering some of those issues is, like you were saying, it's dashed. It's not enough imagination or something, and that's where I struggle with
And I
a
put
big
my hand
enough,
out.
big enough vision.
I put my hand out in the night, and I touched something that was not me.
Not me.
Verily, it was not me. I was alive. I was a tiger bursting forth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
is there some arena of grief that we have to acknowledge? Because a lot of the stories that the politics of our life is putting out is not true. You know, in India, there's a lot of effort to distance the Muslim community and minority communities. So, and with a lot of social media support. So, to acknowledge the reality of that and grieve over that is probably part of it.
I've been sitting here just thinking of the bombing of Ukraine.
Yeah.
I mean, the intentional destruction of infrastructure in the West by bombing is, I mean, I can't even get the impact of that. My mind just doesn't want to imagine the reality and the failure of human imagination to deal with it.
Yeah.
And to think that the goods of the earth are only for a few people and not for everybody.
Yeah.
So the Amish created micro enterprises. The nuns and the nuns started figuring out how to repurpose religious structures.
And barns. Yeah.
So what 2 or 3 topics do you want to share when you come back to the whole group?
I think it'd be helpful to share Marshall's translation to what we've known about a practical vision. That's one piece. Maybe even answering the question of imagination requires you to go into that grief place to get it a real one, a real, I don't know, not real, but big enough imagination required.
He touches on what